Hey, here we are back at Casa Entropy, and we are continuing the development and refinement for our second assault on the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill. This past weekend, we just came back from New Jersey Motorsports Park, where we got to test some new team techniques, got to train some new team members, try some new equipment, and here we're going to talk a little bit about the cooling systems and how we're going to be managing them. Right here is the original water injection bottle, which is a 1 gallon bottle, which feeds into this pump, which then feeds into an injection nozzle that goes through the motor for evaporative cooling. And the phase change from water to steam is a tremendous way to cool the motor. As we walk over to Harry, which is our enduro car, you'll see that if you go from Blinky over here to the front and to Harry over here, we have now got an enlarged cooling bottle. We went from 1 gallon to 3 gallons because the enduro, we're not starting cold every session. So typically when we start out from pit lane after the race begins and a couple of sessions in, we're probably already up to temperature and needing cooling. So we found that the gallon jug was insufficient. So we put this bottle on. We are also going to be adding an injection nozzle to the motor so we can cool the front and the rear motors simultaneously rather than using the residual from the front motor to cool the rear motor. During the race, what we concluded was that the front motor was actually manageable while the rear motor just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Upon further investigation, we discovered that we were picking up our signal for our cooling pumps off of the front motor, so we switched that to the rear motor for this event. Without the extra injection nozzle, we found that our cooling was much more manageable. We were very successful at various power settings, all the way from our enduro setting up to what we call party mode, which is even beyond any normal capacity of the controllers or the motor. But as with any modification, no matter how small, there are always unintended consequences. I was driving Harry this weekend, and one of the things we found is you look at this bottle, you think, all right, there's 3 gallons of water, that's 6 pounds per gallon. That's 18 pounds of weight that we've added in front of the front axle. And you think, okay, that's, it's an 1,800 pound car, so that's 1% of the total weight. We've moved from center of the car to the front of the car. What could go wrong? Well, actually, what could go wrong is in the first practice, I found the car a little hard to manage, but the lap times were good, so we didn't really put anything together to think about it much. And I went out in the race, and once I was wheel to wheel with Todd and a couple of other cars, it was just impossible to get the car stopped down in turn 7, and scratched my head. I struggled through the whole race, actually spun once, and was fortunate enough to have our competitors manage to get around me without incident. But after that session, I realized that all this weight, all 18 pounds of it, was acting as a lever. So when you put your weight on the front wheels when you're under braking, this would amplify that, making the rear lighter, and we had to change our brake bias to much more towards the front. We did this in 2 different ways. We do it electronically, with our regenerative braking, and we also do it mechanically by just valving the front brakes to receive more of the pressure from the pedal. This worked well. After that next session, we went out for the hardship laps and put the regenerative braking back in, got our brake balance back. So it's good. Testing is a really challenging thing. It takes lots and lots of time, lots of thought, and fortunately we have a lot of experience with the cars, and we haven't been changing a lot of things at once. And the key to really good development is changing one thing at a time, seeing what it does with the car, seeing the things that you never expected. For example, moving 3 gallons of water somewhere else in the car, you'd think, what could go wrong? But at the end of the weekend, we got the balance right. We were running near our lap records in this car on an oiled track, so we're really looking forward to getting a clean track and setting a new record. Todd did set a new record in the other car, but Next up is Summit Point, and we will have our additional injection nozzles. And by having 2 injection nozzles, we're hoping to run smaller jets, thereby reducing our overall consumption, if not reducing it, at least making it equal across the 2 jets, and hopefully running less unevaporated water past the bearings, because we do have bearing problems, and that again is an unintended consequence of the injection nozzles in the first place. So as we move along, we're now in the 6th month of the year, and we have 6 more months until Thunder Hill, and I think by then we will have it all sorted out. So we were discussing the water injection into the motor, and these motors were never intended to have water injected in them, but to run them at 200 to 300% their suggested duty cycle and keep them cool. We had found this excellent solution, and it is an excellent solution. Unfortunately, steaming the motor has the unintended consequence, which was foreseeable and anticipated, of ruining the back bearing. The front bearing is well protected by the motor housing. The back bearing, on the other hand, can get a little bit noisy when that happens. So, Dale, if you could spin it up, and we'll take a listen to how bad it sounds. Go ahead. Now, as you can see, that is not a quiet, smooth running electric motor that we are used to. So one of the things we'll be investigating is alternate bearings of the same dimension that maybe have double seals or are intended for more harsh environments. But in the meantime, we will just change bearings a little more frequently than we would in the normal instance of these motors' lives. We'll see you soon.
Hi, Dale.